What's up, Titan fans? How we doing? Welcome back to another episode from the What's Up Titans Fans pod, where we're going to go over Ron Carthon and all his transactions he did, either through draft class, free agency, or through trade, and rank them right here on the tier list. Now, obviously, it's not going to be every transaction. We're not worried about Luke Guilford or Worley or any of these scrubs that were practice squad players, or even like the 6th and 7th round picks, because with them, you're really just throwing a dart at the wall and hoping one of them sticks. But most of them's going to be practice squad level players. But as people starting to join, let me go ahead and insert the plug. If you're not following me on YouTube, TikTok, and X, make sure to follow me on all 3 platforms. The handle's the same no matter where you go. It's the What's Up Titans Fans pod, where I put out videos all throughout the week, Monday through Friday. So make sure you send me a follow and go ahead and like this video. It helps the channel out, gets more people in here where we can have a conversation in each and every one of you, because I read every single comment. So make sure you comment down below. So let's go ahead and dive into things. As we know, the Tennessee Titans fired Ran Carthon the other day. So let's go ahead, spin this wheel, see who comes up, and go ahead and rank these players on where we think he did. If it was a good transaction, if it was a bad one, was it, how was it? Let's go ahead and get started. See, we got Ran Carthon over here. Let's spin this wheel. Let's see who we got first, baby. So right now, we are going to be talking about Jerome Baker. So how do we feel about Jerome Baker? As we know, he ended up coming through a trade, right? We ended up getting Jerome Baker about halfway through the season after a trade. And since he's come to our team, it hasn't been too bad for him. He's been pretty decent. I mean, we got him from the Ernest Jones trade, so it's almost like a bundle package. But Ernest Jones we'll talk about as well. But going into this, what I would say for Jerome Baker, as we see, we got him over here right now. Let me go ahead and size him up to size. I'd say if we were to give him a grade, obviously he's not a F, he's not a D or a C, but he's definitely not S or A. I'd give that a solid B for Jerome Baker. He's been a solid player, hasn't really hurt the team. He's been out there making plays since he's been on our team. It ended up being a pretty good move. I mean, as you see, as we upgraded through the trades from Ernest Jones all the way up to Jerome Baker, it's been pretty well for us. I'd give that a solid B right there in the tier list for Jerome Baker. Let's go ahead and see what they got on the next list for us. Go ahead, spin this wheel, baby. Oh, right here, Chris Moore. If you remember Chris Moore, oh no, it went to Cedric Gray. Ooh, it faked me out, Cedric Gray. It ended up tilting just a little bit further. I wasn't patient enough. So Cedric Gray, we ended up getting this man this year in the 4th round. Haven't seen much from him. Yes, he ended up playing a little bit toward the end, but we didn't see him very much because he was injured. He was injury prone and all this other stuff, but he is a 4th round pick. But overall, for this transaction for Cedric Gray, he's going in the C tier. I mean, we still got to see. I mean, he's only a rookie, so we have a chance to see more of Cedric Gray. But, as a 4th rounder, and he only played a partial bit of the year. It's his rookie year. So far, we'll give him a C. He hasn't been a complete failure, like I said, as a 4th rounder. If he was drafted any further up in the draft boards, Cedric Gray would be lower on the tier list. But as of now, Cedric Gray, he was a C-level transaction for Ron Carthon, right? Let's go ahead and spin that wheel again. Let's see who's next on the transaction list. And, oh, it tilted over. We're talking about Awuzie. So let's go ahead, rate this guy, see where the transaction landed for Awuzie. So Awuzie, he ended up coming over. We got him from the Bengals. He came from the Bengals, came from Brian Callahan's old team since he's been here. I mean, he was hurt for like at least half the season. About half the season this man was injured, but first came back, got an interception, but he hasn't been spectacular. He's been decent. He's our second cornerback overall. You know, he's supposed to be across from Snead. So he's over there, but he's been injured a majority of the season. Right now, haven't been too impressed with Awuzie. I mean, he's played, a few games for us. But like I said, injuries has halted his season. I'm going to go ahead and give that a C right there for Awuzie. That's a solid C for me. I can't give him any better. That's just where he's placed, all right? Now let's go ahead, spin that wheel. Again, we got lots of players to go through, chat. Lots of them. Look at all these players that Ron Carthon signed or drafted in the last couple years while he was here. Oh, now we're going to Al Shire. He ended up getting Al Shire. He came with him over from San Francisco. When he was with us, he was pretty solid. It was a shame he was only with us for 1 year. Before that year, I thought he was pretty good. It's just we didn't ended up keeping him. He ended up leaving the team, going elsewhere. But overall, Al Shire for us. Let's see. What do you think it should be? I'm thinking somewhere, man. If there was minuses on this chart, you know, it'd be an easy like B minus. I wouldn't want to give him quite a C because you know he did decent for us. It's just a shame we weren't able to keep him for a longer period of time. So I'll go ahead and give Al Shire a B for that 1 year he played with us. It was pretty good. I liked him on the team. I thought he did pretty well for us. Let me go ahead, spin that wheel one more time. Let's see where it's at. We still got plenty of names on this list, chat. Plenty of them. And we are going to Will the Mayo Man Levis. Will Levis. Man, what a tough 2 seasons Will Levis has had for us. This was supposed to be the year, his year to show it all. This is the year where he was supposed to come in, take this roster, take the team by the horns. I mean, you're talking Calvin Ridley on one side, D-Hop on the other, Tyler Boyd. We stacked the roster with him. If you believed in Traylon Burks, he was there. NWI, I mean, so many players. We're just lacking a tight end, but we still had Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears. It was looking like this could be the year where Will Levis shows he is the man. But the Mayo Man himself ended up being a disappointment. He has basically as many touchdowns. I think he finished the season with as many touchdowns as interceptions. I can't quite give this man an F because he was a second-round pick. If he was a first-round pick, that would be a solid F. But, you know, he was I'd give it a D. You drafted him, you took a chance, it didn't work out. It's a D, you know, not a complete failure. I mean, we've seen worse QBs out there, even be draft higher than him. And maybe it will take a little bit more time, but he definitely cannot be our starter in the future. Right now, it's a D for Will Levis. Definitely not an F, but a solid D for that transaction, for drafting him, just taking a shot on him. But at least it was in the second round and not the first round for Will Levis. Let's see who we got coming up next, chat. The wheel is spinning. So right now we're going to be talking about Sean Murphy Bunting. Remember him? He was with us a couple years ago. Ron Carthon picked him up. He came to us. He was looking pretty decent. He did good that 1 year. It's a shame we couldn't keep him for 2 years. But Sean Murphy Bunting, overall for that 1 year, dude, I'm going to have to go B class for Sean Murphy Bunting. You know, that's where you have to go. I mean, he was solid while he was here. I thought it was a good transaction by Ron Carthon. He came over from Tampa, did well. He started for us a majority of the year. That's when we was struggling because we had Fulton on the other side and everything. But ended up being pretty good for SMB, right? You got to give that a B for SMB right there. Let's go ahead, pull up the list, see who's next. So as it's spinning, let's see. Oh, they're talking about Chris Moore. Now, this guy, he was supposed to come over, be a solid starter for us, came from Houston. He was going to be over there, you know, one of our 1 or 2s. Was not good for us, chat. Was not good. Highly disappointed in Chris Moore. I know you can't put too much weight on this man's shoulders, but, man, it was a bad transaction. I did not like Chris Moore at all. Chris Moore, that goes F tier. Not a good transaction. He was playing way above his position, right? He's easily a 4th, 5th, 6th string receiver, but he was coming in for us, having to make plays. So Chris Moore definitely, look, he doesn't even have a an actual pitcher on ESPN. I had to get something off of Google. So he's rocking the helmet for Chris Moore right there, so he's going to be hard to recognize if you come back later on in the video, and you miss this part where I'm talking about it. You know what I'm saying? Let's see who's next on the list, chat. See who it's going to be for the Ron Carthon transactions. And that inched over to Arden Key. Arden Key, we ended up getting him from Jacksonville. I think he's been pretty solid. He hasn't been an outstanding player, but he's been pretty solid on our team. Every now and then he'll make a penalty, but overall, I mean, he doesn't really get injured. He seems to play all the time, but he has spurts, right? Sometimes he'll go out there, he'll have a good 1 or 2 games, then he's just dry, and you don't hear his name for another few games. So I don't think he's quite A tier. I'll put him a B tier for Arden Key. Let me go ahead and get him over here. Arden Key, that's a B tier transaction from Ron Carthon right there. Ron Carthon, I think overall, I'm pretty sure he's done more good transactions than bad transactions over his 2 years here. It's not like the John Robinson era where it seemed like everything he was doing was bad, all right? So this is much better, much more improved as a GM, but he's no longer our GM, so we got to go through, see, maybe we'll figure out why they fired him. So going on to this, we ended up drafting Peter Skoronsky, right? He's been solid for us for 2 years. 2 years. The only disappointing thing is that he was supposed to be a tackle. He ended up being a guard. So we ended up drafting a guard kind of high. But the fact that our left side of our line is secure, that's very good for us, right? Because the right side, as you see, is miserable. We have a rotation at right tackle, right guard. Center's okay between Brunskill and Quisenberry. But then, the left side's pretty locked up over there. So we're over here. I got to give this an A. Peter Skoronsky, that was a good pick, even though I hate picking offensive linemen in the first round. It's not for me. I prefer getting skill position players, but you got to give Peter Skoronsky an A tier, right? He's been good for us. He's been solid. You never hear him really make false starts. He gets beat every now and then, but overall, that left side is pretty secure over there. So you got to give him credit where credit is due, chat. You have to do it. Let's go ahead, see who's next on the list. Quandre Diggs. Your boy Quandre Diggs. I thought when he played this year, he did pretty good. And you saw the drop-off from whenever he ended up getting injured. But the fact that he got injured and we had to bring in guys like Worley, Mike Brown, I'm disappointed a lot in our safety play this year because of injuries. Quandre Diggs, I got to give that a C. That's a C. It's a little disappointing. Maybe we'll see more come from it, next year or in the future. But Quandre Diggs gotta be a C. You can't really, he didn't even play like half the games. It's crazy. So a lot of times it was Hooker back there with Mike Brown or someone like that. So you can't give Diggs a higher than a C when he only played half the season out there. Let's go ahead and give this another spin, chat. Let's see, right here is going to stop on Brunskill. Remember Brunskill, our center. Overall, pretty solid. Not the best offensive lineman in the world, but reliable and does enough. He does enough. He's there. He's available. And I thought he did pretty good when he played guard for us. I know they moved him to center as well. Last year it was a little better at guard, but he's not the best guy, right? You got to go ahead and give Brunskill. I'll give him a C. It ain't too bad, not too good, so you got to go with that, Let's go ahead and see who's next on the list, chat. We're flowing through these. Let's see who is next. It almost stopped on Cushionberry, but we're talking about Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard. He came into the season. He played almost all the games. I know he missed one at the end, the game before last. He had the ankle injury. But Pollard was pretty solid for us this year. He got over, 1,000 yards. He came in, played the last end. He hit his bonuses, his incentives, and everything. And, it's a hard shoe to fill when you're talking about replacing Derrick Henry. And I talked about that in a previous video, right? Derrick Henry. It's not fully Ron Carthon's fault. Some people say, oh, yeah, he let Derrick Henry walk. Everybody let him walk. You saw the last game of the season. Everybody knew it was over. The fans said, hey, it's time. Derrick Henry said, it's time. The organization said, it's time. People wanted to move on, see what we got beyond Derrick Henry. So we ended up getting Tony Pollard. He was clearly our best runner back on the team. You got to give him an A. That's an A transaction right there. It's got to be for Tony Pollard. Let's see who else is on the list. We still got a decent amount of names left. Calvin Ridley, another man, a little disappointing at times. There were some games where he didn't get anything, but some of that's with the quarterback play. And the fact that he got over 1,000 yards when you're talking Will Levis is his quarterback, and he's missing them on wide open plays, or he's just trying to force him the ball whenever it's like 3-on-1. Like, what are we doing, guys? So, it's a little tough sometimes for Ridley, so you can't fully blame him. But for the amount of money we paid him, we did expect more. So I'm going to give Ridley a B. He's supposed to come in and be our solid number one. I mean, was he that much of a threat? It's not like teams were scared of Ridley. It's not like you have a Justin Jefferson or, Jamar Chase or anybody like that. It's Calvin Ridley. He came in. It seemed like he wasn't an outstanding receiver like we thought he would be coming into the season. Go ahead and give that wheel a spin. Oh, we got something in the chat. He said, hi, brother. Happy New Year to you and your family. Hey, I appreciate it. Happy New Year, brother. Yes, going into 2025. Can you believe it? I remember being here, waiting for the Y2K to happen, all the electronics to go out, world to end. You're talking about 2012 world ending as well, right? The Mayan calendar stuff. But here we go. We got Sneed right here. We're talking about L'Jarius Sneed. Now, L'Jarius Sneed was basically hurt the entire season. Another man we ended up getting riddled with injuries. So you can't really give him too high of a grade. He's supposed to come in, be our number one, be our lockdown number one. And then I think he had 2 good games, and then the next game he ended up getting burned many times. Didn't see him at all the rest of the season. So far, not saying it can't change, chat. Not saying it can't change, but so far, I got to give this a D. He has not been a number one defensive back for us. Haven't seen him all year long. I'm hoping he does come back next season, and he is that number one defensive back that we wanted and we hope we would have a lockdown cornerback. But you can't be locked down if you're not on the field, right? If you only play 3 games, you're not locked down. You're on the bench. That's what it is, chat. So you got to give that Snead transaction, a low grade, until we see something otherwise to prove it. Next, this is an easy one right here. We're talking about Andre Dillard. Remember, we signed Andre Dillard a couple years ago, hoping he would come in, fix the line, the tackle side. Did not work. One of the worst transactions, in Titans history. Somehow he still has a job in the NFL, but that's clearly an F right there. You got to go F tier when you're talking about Andre Dillard. No matter, even if we paid him minimum money, Andre Dillard, F tier all day, every single day, chat. Let's go ahead and spin that wheel again and see who we got next on the list. Sebastian Joseph Day. He did okay for us, wasn't bad, a pretty good pickup. for what he is. I mean, he's not going to be out there making crazy plays for you, but he did get some sacks. I'd have to look up his stats to see exactly how he did, but I'm gonna give that a C. That's a C. Not bad, not too bad. He wasn't great. He's not. He obviously didn't have the impact of Ridley, Arden Key, when SMB was on the team, Raul Shire, or Jerome Baker. He wasn't right here with the B's, right? But he's a good C tier. You gotta give him C tier. That's Joseph Day for you. He's gotta go with that. We got another comment. Dameon Pierce, longest run in the NFL this year. Oh, I know. He's talking smack, brother. Hey, yeah, 92 yards against the Tennessee Titans. I'm tracking. Hey, we had, I hate making excuses, but listen here, brother. Listen, Brandon. Our safeties that he just ran by, these guys were practice level players. I'm talking Mike Brown and Worley back there. So, it's tough, whenever you start the season and you have Quandre Diggs back there, Amani Hooker, you have Jamal Adams, and by that point in the season, they're all gone. And you got these guys coming up from the practice squad playing. So once you get to the second level, I mean, he was gone, 92 yards. What can you say? He said knocked Derrick Henry back to number 2. Yeah, hey, Derrick Henry, outstanding season for him. I'm glad he's doing well, even though he's no longer a Tennessee Titan. Always got love for that man. So I hope he continues to do well, even though I hate the Ravens, with a passion. But, hey, I need Derrick Henry to do well for us. He said no one was playing hard in freezing rain. Yeah, the Tennessee Titans, you can tell they were out of it. They were playing for incentives that game. That's all it was. Anytime players were coming in, they were just trying to get their stats up. That's why Tony Pollard played. He made sure he got his incentives. Calvin Ridley, you really think he would have played the entire game if he wasn't chasing incentives to the very, very end? They were just trying to get that bonus money, Brandon. But now we're talking about Jamal Adams. This man played, 3 games for us, and then he ended up quitting the team. We did have some hype for him coming in. We hoped he'd be the Jamal Adams of old, but clearly he wasn't. I mean, luckily we paid him hardly any money, but even though we hardly paid him any money, Jamal Adams, you got to give that an F. He did absolutely nothing for us. I mean, what did he do but take up a roster spot for a few weeks? And, what he had, I remember at one point he was injured with total body soreness just because he wasn't prepared for the NFL. He didn't train his body because, he was coming back from injury, but he wasn't ready. So you can't. You can't give him a high grade. The Jamal Adams transaction was very, very bad. Let's go ahead and spin that wheel again. See what we got next on the list, baby. And we're going with Cushenberry. Now, if Cushenberry would have played all year, you could argue, man, that could probably be like an A or a B. I mean, he did pretty good. But the fact that he missed a lot of the season, they started scrambling around trying to figure out who we're going to put at center. You had Brunskill playing. The other guys were moving around. I mean, you got to give it C just because of his injury. You got to play, to play good. If you're not playing, hey, you're not playing good then, right? You're not on the field. You got to be on the field, chat. You got to be. So we got to give that a C. Haven't seen a solid set at center yet. We know our left guard's good. We know the left tackle's good. Center, okay, between Quisenberry and Brunskill. And then our right side is just a disaster, Even though Radens is okay at right guard. Not the greatest. He's okay. So let's go ahead. See who's next left on this list, chat. For Ron Carthon. Oh, we're talking about Big T Sweat. Oh boy, what a monster. What a steal in the draft. I know a lot of people fell for this, he fell in the draft, right, because of attitude or work ethic, him being a bigger guy. They had all this talk about him not being able to commit, to all the snaps in an NFL game. But boy, did they prove everyone wrong, right? He came in doing, playing almost every snap possible, right? I think he had the most snaps from all defensive linemen drafted. So far, I would say T Sweat, man, you got to go S tier. The impact he's had as a rookie, the potential he shows for the future. He wasn't injured all year long. He's been dominant. I mean, I think he had like one bad game all season, but you got to give him an S tier for a defensive tackle. We do have finally someone in the middle to secure up that line. Great draft pick, especially when you compare him to previous draft picks that we had with, let's say, John Robinson with back-to-back first-round busts, Caleb Farley, Traylon Burks, Isaiah Wilson. So you're talking about getting a steal in the second round with T-Sweat. That's S tier all day as a draft pick, chat. You gotta roll with it. Let's see who's next on the list. We're coming down to the, final 10 or something like that, or less. J.C. Latham. So he drafted him in the first round. It was a good pick. J.C. Latham ended up playing all season for us. He wasn't struck with the injury bug. He ended up being pretty solid. Yes, he allowed a few sacks, but a lot of that was on Will the Mayo Man Levis for allowing so many for holding on to the ball for so long, right? He holds on to the ball so long, ends up getting sacked. Things can't be helped. He got scared to throw the ball as he started throwing more and more interceptions. But Latham right now, we'll go A tier. We did get him in the first round, but so far, really good. That's A tier all day. I'm tempted to put him in the S tier for J.C. Latham, but he did have a couple bad games. But overall, J.C. Latham did really, really good for us, chat. The next few, let's see. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. Oh, Jarvis Brownlee Jr. What a steal. This is another steal, chat. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. we got in the 5th round. When he played, he was solid. He was locking down wide receivers all day long. For the value we got him for the value we got Jarvis Brownlee for, and the fact that he could potentially be a starting defensive back for us. He has the ability. We've seen it this year. Jarvis Brownlee Jr., if he was drafted higher, you can't do it. But if the fact that we got him, as a 5th round draft pick, he's starting level potential going that far back in the draft. You got to go S tier. This was a steal by Ryan Carthon. You got to give it to him. S tier right that for Brownlee Jr. There's not very many S tiers in here, but you got to give it to him for Jarvis Brownlee Jr. He has so much potential. I can't wait to see what he does for the next few years. Oh, it's going to Ernest Jones. It ticked over to Ernest Jones. Ernest Jones, right? We got him for a steal. And then once we got Ernest Jones, we ended up trading him away. Ended up getting Jerome Baker. Got draft picks. Just the transaction. So this counts the transactions. It's his transactions both ways for what we got him for and what we sold him for, basically, or traded him for. It goes both ways. Not exactly what he did, even though when he was here, he did pretty good for us, but that whole thing was just crazy. I felt like we were just upgrading every time Rand Carthon did something with Ernest Jones, from what we traded for him, to get him, and then when we traded him away. So I'm gonna give him a solid B. That's a B. Even though it's combined with Jerome Baker right there, it's combined with Jerome Baker, but you gotta end up giving that at least a B, even though he wasn't on the team long. But all the transactions themselves add up, chat. They add up. We're getting down to how many players? We got 2, 4. We got 6 players left. Let's see what we got. Malik Willis. So as you saw, Malik Willis, man, we traded him away for a 7th round draft pick. Hardly any value we got for Malik Willis. And then he goes to Green Bay. Has a solid season for Green Bay. Look, we pull up the stats for Malik Willis. Let me pull those up real quick, because I know for Malik Willis, whenever he came to Tennessee, he dominated us, right? We saw him come in. He dominated us. Their head coach ended up developing a game plan for him that suited around Malik Willis, unlike when he was here. if we could have got that kind of production out of him, it would have been insane. But no, we didn't get it. Because whenever he was with us, right, year one, he had a 50% completion rate, had 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, only threw for 276 yards. Year two, he had an 80% completion rate, only threw for 74 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. We trade him away. All of a sudden, he goes to Green Bay. They develop him, right? Mac Vrabel couldn't develop quarterbacks, but they ended up developing him over there with Matt LaFleur. He ended up getting 550 passing yards, a 74% completion rate, 3 tutties, 0 interceptions on the year, chat. So, I mean, this goes not only as a bad trade, right? Because we could have used them. We ended up having Will Levis back there. We had Mason Rudolph back there. I mean, if we would have just kept Willis and just threw him out there and see what he had and developed around him, let him try this Brian Callahan offense. So for us trading him away, I'm going to give Ron Carthon an F on this transaction. We should have kept him, chat. You know it. We should have kept him. Let's see what he has. Develop him. You know, we knew when we drafted him, you know, in the 3rd round, it was going to be a project. But they didn't work with him. You know, 2 years in, boom, you're out of here, Malik Willis. So, hey, that's an F for trading them away for a 7th-round pick. Because, as you know, 7th-round picks, they don't stand out. You know, it's like throwing darts at a wall. And who we're going to get this year with the 7th-round pick, we'll see. But I bet you it's not going to be anyone like at the player Malik Willis has been for the Green Bay Packers that we could not develop, unfortunately. Let's see, we got about 5 more players left to talk about from the Ron Carthon transactions. Oh, Nick Folk. Oh, what a beast. He has been a weapon. He has been a weapon for a few years, we ended up struggling at kicker. We could not make a kick to save our lives, right? I know all Titan fans remember this. Couldn't kick the ball at all. Ever since Ryan Suckup left. Once he left, our kicking game ended. It was gone, chat. So for them taking a chance on the old man, 40 years old or however old he is, and the solidness that he's been, I'm giving that a S. Nick Folk, an S-tier transaction. It ain't like we pay him crazy amounts of money. I mean, he's a kicker. And the fact that he's so consistent week in and week out for multiple seasons for us, the Nick Folk transaction, definite S-tier for us. We only got 4 more transactions left from Ron Carthon, chat. So go ahead, send a like if you're watching. We need these likes in here. You know, it gets people in the channel. I see 6 likes right now. Go ahead and send some more, chat, because it helps the channel out. Now we're talking about Tyjae Spears. Tyjae Spears, man, he has so much potential, right? He's out there making plays. You see him hopping around, sidestepping, doing all this crazy stuff, you know, faking people out. But overall, I mean, he's just injury prone, unfortunately. You know, he's out there with the Guardian cap on, ended up still getting a concussion, you know, so he didn't play the last week of the season. But I see the potential. It's there, but I know he's rocking 0 ACLs right now. So right now, what I'd give him a B. You know, if he started all year, maybe I could throw him up in A tier. But Tyjae Spears, for what he does right now, is a B, right? And he's a little injury prone. I would love to give him an A, especially for where we got him in the draft, but you got to go B tier, unfortunately, mainly just because he's injury prone and he misses games and he's not quite the starter. You know, he's letting Tony Pollard get a bulk of the carries right now, chat. Oh, there we go. I see someone went ahead, liked the video, baby. We're up to 7 now. I appreciate that. I appreciate it. Now we're talking about Murray Jr., right? Linebacker. We ended up getting him from the Chargers. He's come in, Kenneth Murray. He's been okay for us. He hasn't been the best, right? He's decent in like pass rush. He can't pass cover to really save his life. I don't know how I feel about Murray. I mean, I like Jack Gibbons more. I know he broke his ankle and whatnot. I like Baker at linebacker. Murray, I'm a little iffy about. I wanted Cedric Gray to do something. I'm not sure how I feel about the Murray transaction as a whole, especially for what we thought he would come in and do for us. So for the Murray one, I'm going to throw that with the D's. A little disappointing in Kenneth Murray, you know. Can't say I'm a fan of him. We only got 2 guys left, so we can just hit them one after another, chat. That's where we'll go with these last 2 Ron Carthon transactions. Josh Wiley. So we end up getting Josh Wiley. He's another guy that's a little disappointing. You know, I mean, we knew he wasn't the greatest receiving tight end, but he's not really a great blocking tight end either. So he's just kind of in the middle. He's tall. You know, he's a tall, slow, white guy that can catch the ball if he's open. Not really a fan of him. We'll give that a C. I mean, we didn't really spend too much capital on him, right? We got him in like the 4th or 5th round. I don't remember. But it was later on in the draft. I think it was the 5th round. So, but yeah, we'll give that a D. You know, we're not going to see much of Josh Wiley out there rocking the Guardian cap as well. Last on the list, Tyler Boyd. Man, we got him. He's supposed to come over from Cincy with Brian Callahan. We thought he was going to be, you know, a good slot receiver, put up numbers like he did in Cincy. I know he's rocking Will Levis at quarterback, but we didn't really see much of Tyler Boyd. I mean, I could pull up his numbers real quick just so I'll make sure I'm not tripping, but I feel like I did not see Tyler Boyd at all on the field. Like every now and then he might make a catch. So let's see, for the season, 39 receptions, 390 yards. I mean, that's not that impressive, you know what I'm saying? Especially when you look at his years in Cincinnati. Whenever last year he had 67 receptions, the year before 58, the year before 67, and 79, 90. Like, where was this? Like, we ended up getting the half the production from him that he normally gets. I know Will Levis is his quarterback, but still, you know, before that, you know, he had 1,000-yard receivers in most seasons, at least 700 yards or above. For us, under 400. Kind of a disappointment from where you expect Tyler Boyd to be. So Tyler Boyd, I'm gonna give that a D. You know, I mean, he's just a slot receiver, but it's definitely he definitely didn't perform to the expectations that us Titans fans had for him on the field, chat. But like I said, this was supposed to sum up the Ron Carthon transactions over the last couple years, free agency, the draft, and a couple trades he did, all his major stuff right there. So this is the list right here. Lots of B grades. He had some S's and some A's for me, but definitely some F's and D's on the list. But let me know how you feel about it all down in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tighten up, baby.